An election where there's no polling, there's only one front runner, but where it all could come unglued for that front runner if just a handful of votes go the other way. This, in a nutshell, is House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy's existence right now. He wants to be desperately the next House Speaker in the upcoming new Republican-controlled House, but because his new majority is so slim, as you know, he's got to keep as many hardliners as possible from voting no, as some have already vowed to do. So he's also got to keep moderates on board and not end up a hostage to the extreme supporters of the former president if he actually gets the job, but also not alienate them completely, which might explain some of his recent verbal contortions, such as condemning the former president's dinner with anti-Semites without actually condemning the host by name.
I don't think anybody should be spending any time with Nick Fuentes. He has no place in this Republican Party. I think President Trump came out 4 times and condemned him and didn't know who he was.
Just as a point of fact, the former president has never condemned that person, let alone 4 times. In any event, Congressman McCarthy zigzagging is not exactly new. Here he is shortly after the January 6th attack on Congress.
The president bears responsibility for Wednesday's attack on Congress by mob rioters. He should have immediately denounced the mob when he saw what was unfolding. These facts require immediate action by President Trump.
That was just days after the insurrection, famously not long after he was back at Mar-a-Lago, currying favor with his supporters. CNN's Manu Raju joins us now with more on his latest balancing act. So as of tonight, how does McCarthy's path to the speakership, how does it look like he'll get there?
It's really uncertain at this point, Anderson, and this is precisely the concern that McCarthy and his allies had in the run-up to the midterms. They spent a ton of money to try to build what they call the, quote, governing majority. They wanted 230 seats, 235 seats, maybe even 240 seats. They got probably, we're looking at 222 seats, and that means to become elected speaker, you need to have 218 votes on January 3rd. So if more than 4 Republicans vote against him or vote for another candidate, that means he will have a problem. And right now, there are about 5 Republicans, hardliners, who are signaling they will either hard nose or that they're very likely to vote against him, meaning that McCarthy at the moment has a math problem. Now, talking to some of those hardliners, they tell me that there's more than 5. They say there could be 20. There are even larger number than that. And some of them, like Congressman Bob Good of Virginia, told me he is urging more to come out publicly and make clear that McCarthy does not have the votes, say they are opposed. And at that point, he says that there will be another candidate who will emerge.
There's quality candidates who represent the conservative center of the Republican conference who are privately acknowledging that once it becomes clear it's not going to be Kevin McCarthy, they are interested in becoming Speaker. But they're not going to raise their hand publicly until it's clear to them that it's not going to be Kevin McCarthy.
Are you one of these private no votes on McCarthy who's not coming out publicly to say so?
My position is pretty clear on this, is that no one in this town has 218, and the whole point here is to have a conversation now. I'm not talking about how I'm going to vote or not vote. What I'm talking about is my constituents sent me here to end the status quo.
So Chip Roy, that last congressman, is what gives McCarthy and his allies some hope. They believe they can win over some of those detractors and critics by negotiating with them. And McCarthy did get a boost from more mainstream Republicans earlier today. A letter was sent from 21 Republicans warning about dire consequences of a messy floor fight on the first day of the new Congress, saying in the letter, "Make no mistake, we will not allow this conference to be dragged down a path to a paralyzed House that weakens our hard-fought majority," showing real signs of tension even before they take the majority next year, Anderson.
I mean, is there anyone who could actually make a run at the speakership if he doesn't get the 218 votes?
That's also unclear. What we have learned is that Republicans in this hardline group have reached out to some of McCarthy's own top deputies, including Steve Scalise, the number 2 Republican, and also Tom Emmer, who's going to be the number 3 Republican in the new Congress, as well as Jim Jordan, who's expected to be the House Judiciary Committee chairman. They asked all of them to jump into this race. We were told that all of them said no, that they are backing McCarthy. Now, the hope among these McCarthy detractors is that once it is abundantly clear he cannot become elected speaker, somebody else could jump into this race, perhaps one of those 3. At the moment, they're not signaling they will do just that. But Anderson, this is such a rare scenario that we're talking about. If he cannot get 218 votes, McCarthy, on January 3rd, then we'll go to a second ballot of voting, a third ballot of voting potentially, even beyond. It's been 100 years. 1923 was the last time there's been more than one ballot to elect a House Speaker. It's possible that could happen again.
Yeah. Manu Raju, thanks so much. Appreciate it.